Oh, that's right. Uh, this over here. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, the DLC, is now in development, and it is sparking up the conversation of, once again, all the crazy From Software, Miyazaki, George R. R. Martin, Elden Ring lore that there is, and there is a ton of it. Now, from day one, as soon as I started seeing all the trailers and all the storyline lore stuff and everything, the first thing that I was saying was like, okay, so who's Queen America? What does she look? What does she actually look like? What does she sound like? All we really see is just like a glimpse of her in the story intro, and then we see basically her corpse hanging up at the end of the game. So it begs the question of like, what kind of a ruler was she? What's her influence on everybody around her? Why is there statues everywhere? Everybody talks about Queen America. Now we get this dropped, and to jump into this lore here and actually dive in of like what we're seeing in this picture, I think I need to give like my version of what I see of the lore being, because that's like I feel like I can't really do a let's talk on this unless I let you know what my full on version of the lore is. A quick deep dive into the lore of Elden Ring. Now I've done almost 200 hours worth of Elden Ring. A lot of that was grinding, I will admit. I've read, a fair amount of descriptions on items and swords and stuff, and I've seen probably every single one of Vadi Veda's videos on all the lore minutes. Now, I do not agree with everything that he is saying in his videos. Now, this is where I will definitely say, like, I want to stress that there's a lot of the stuff that he is going for Elden Ring that I think people are just taking as cold hard factual lore that he is actually going into cut content on. Now, a lot of the backstory stuff that I am going to be talking about in this does come from his videos, but I try and make sure and keep like a mental note of like when he is talking about something that is actual canon lore versus like if it's cut content, that's not canon lore. In my book, I don't see that as canon lore. And also like when he makes theories and stuff, I don't see that as canon lore. So he is like one of the top lore masters of all this stuff. I could be totally wrong. He could be totally wrong. We could both be right on certain, parts of all this stuff. We don't know until the DLC drops. Okay, there is a lot of plot holes in the way that Elden Ring is fully written. Even though there is two of the best writers that there is, or two of the best heads of studios that there is, I should say, that being George R. R. Martin, which incredible writer for Game of Thrones and all that stuff. I see a lot of Game of Thrones this stuff in the old Elden Ring stuff and all that, especially like House of Dragons and all that. But also Miyazaki and just the story that Miyazaki tries to tell through his studios. Again, everybody's work is great. I just want to stress that I don't agree with everything that like I said, like Body's saying in his videos. I think he's got the lore mixed around just a tiny bit on certain subjects, and also he's trying to take, like I said, the content as canon lore. So, anyways, with all that out of the way, so what is my take on the lore? Well, it's so we don't know the start of everything, for one. This right here, I think, is going to be the starting. I'm so sure that this is going to be the prequel DLC that I was really hoping for. This screams prequel DLC. Now I've heard the whole thing about like the what should be I mean, it looks like a girl on torrent. Um, I've heard that might be Mikola from the story. I don't think so. I really, really am thinking that is Queen America. There's a reason why I say it's. So there's certain statues in the world that is depicting the two kids, and what it looks like to me is a woman. What I think, and the statue does look a lot like what we're seeing in this picture, this girl on horseback. I think that statue is Queen America, a younger version of it. We don't know the timeline of how fast these kids grow up to become the demigods and all that. We have no idea how old Queen America is. We have no idea how old Radagon or Renala is, or like any of these. We didn't even know how long ago the Showering War was until George R. R. Martin went on like a late night talk show and said like he wrote it so that it's like hundreds or thousands of years or whatever it is. So like a giant span of time. In that span of time, a lot can happen, including the Shattering War. Now, we don't have really too much of a clue exactly what the Shattering War was, other than just like the intro cinematics and stuff. But they barely kind of go into it at all. It's just like talking about the reason why this type of scene happens here. So, what I think in this opener right here, what I think is actually happening is that we are seeing Queen America and Radagon. I think it's like the tail that has been pushed around over a hundred something years of like exactly I don't think anybody really knows what happens when basically America and Radagon got pushed into the Erdtree. So what we know is that she ends up like this. Now, where is the other? So what we've heard from Vadiveya, and yeah, sure, there is some evidence to say that it's where they ended up was America and Radagon. So Queen America and Radagon turned into one being. But if you also look inside the middle of their chests, they are brought together through the ring. So what I'm thinking ended up happening was this guy right here, the Elden Beast. So when he's banging on the what we think is like the Elden Ring, and he breaks it, and the Death Rune gets stolen and all that. I think what ends up happening. So from what I get of the lore is Marika talked Radagon into trying to shatter the Elden Ring. We hear about that in the lore in the opening of the video. In doing so, they released the beast. I think that ring was holding together the Elden Beast, and the Elden Beast has the power to turn them into one person. The Elden Beast has taken their two forms, mashed them into one, and now the Elden Beast is like, he keeps them locked in there, and that's what's holding the Elden Beast. Or they come together to trap the Elden Beast, and they have to mash together as one, become one being to hold the essence and the soul of the Elden Beast, which is the reason why you end up seeing all this, in the chest and everything. They are literally holding the Elden Beast together. When you destroy Radagon's form, or Radagon Marika's form over here, you are letting the beast out. That's the reason why you end up fighting the Elden Beast. That's what I got out of the lore. Whether that is 100% true or not, or whatever, it's very hard, because it's almost it's borderline subjective what the lore is, because there is a lot of information there, but there's a lot of plot holes too, of like not exactly everything is set in stone of what everything means. It's very loose lore in From Software games, so it's like your own interpretation of things. That's the reason why, like I said, I don't discredit what Vadi's saying. I just don't fully agree with that. Like he keeps trying to say that Radagon and Queen America were always one being or whatever. And I'm like, no. Like when he was with, okay, so when Radagon was with Renala, Radagon and Queen America were two separate people. America was the head of one army, and then Radagon was basically he was trying to be the Elden Lord, and ends up marrying, well, he was married to Renala, ends up marrying Queen America, and then Renala is very heartbroken over it. He ends up going like Radagon is going and screwing with both these queens, having kids with both, and so that's, like I said, I think she had some ulterior motives, and pushed him into basically, shattering the Elden Ring so she could get more power over the lands and whatnot. We actually have no idea what exactly this whole opener truly is. We don't. That's the reason why I'm saying like this. We need like a prequel DLC to see how she ends up, imprisoned. Did they lose the war? Did maybe the Elden Beast, they let the Elden Beast loose, and then people went against her because she did that? Renala, we don't exactly know. Now, what I will say though is if you look at this, it's really looking like whatever the factions were that went against Queen America that end up getting her locked up into here. Maybe this is a sacrifice also that keeps the Elden Beast, you know, contained. But if you look at this, so her dress, right? When she gets locked up in there at first, I think this is a picture of like this is her dress when she first gets locked up in there. Some bad stuff goes down. I think they publicly shame her. And if you look at George R. R. Martin, what does he do in the Game of Thrones lore? He does publicly shame some of the higher up female figures. It looks very much like she got shamed, and maybe there was a public hearing inside the Erdtree by the people or some other lords or something, and her dignity goes away by them stripping her naked basically, and then all of a sudden she gets hit with whatever the sword or whatever it is to finally just kill her and destroy her. And it's either that or that's maybe when the Elden Beast gets unlocked, and then he is Radagon is therefore trying to maybe repair the ring or something to trap the Elden Beast. That still don't make sense. So again, we don't really know the lore of how she ends up here. So now we get to this image here. What I'm thinking, what I see in this, so it's a lot of, so this looks like the field. I'm pretty sure this is a prequel, because if this was like sequel, expansion pack sequel DLC for after the storyline stuff, this image could be 3 or 4 different ways, because there's 3 or 4 different endings to the game, depending on what you do, depending on what you pick. So what I'm going to say is that this is a prequel DLC, and this is the Erdtree before it turns, this is like, let's say that it's 100 years in the past. This is Queen Marika over here. This right here is Queen Marika riding on Torrent. So, I don't know, just the way that she is like royalty up on the steed, and if she comes, we don't know if she come from a royalty bloodline or whatever. We actually don't know. So all the ghostly figure, all this right here, the tombstones and everything. I'm gonna say this is the lands before. So this is probably the same lands that we travel across, but it's before all hell breaks loose. When all hell breaks loose, the world and the lands start to contort and everything, I would say, because you're messing with nature itself. Life and death is just nature itself. So especially with like Japanese lore, nature is life and death. So if you're messing with that, you just messing with the ring itself would contort the land into just this very weird state of just peaks and valleys and and all that, where before it was this beautiful lands of golden wheat or whatever this all is. So she is like looking with aspiration towards a future Erdtree in the background here. What I think is she's thinking if she can light this up and get the golden power of the Erdtree or whatever, that she can maybe have more power. Now, if that's the case, then Queen Marika is just on a power trip. But again, we don't know, because we've never even heard her talk before. We don't know if she is a nice, kind queen. We don't know if she is a power-hungry, manipulative queen. We have no idea really who or what she is. All we have is just the fairy tale, myths of, that are being told for hundreds of years, generation after generation, and then statues of, what she possibly looked like. It's almost like us trying to figure out exactly how the gods of like the Greek mythos, how like Hercules and Zeus would have acted if if they were real people. Maybe Queen America isn't even a real person. There's probably people in the world that are like that also. It's just a myth. All that. So we have again. This is very telling that I'm pretty sure this is going to be a prequel DLC just on the fact that it's like her making her way to, or this could be outside of the, like this could be the lands that we know as the Elden Ring map, and then this is the lands that's leading towards it that have not been scorched by death, if you will. So she comes from a land far away. It could very well could be that's her story. We don't know. Again, it's a big black hole of a mystery of like what the hell is her story. She comes from some lands far away that she ran away from, and she tells everybody that she is royalty or something. And yeah, and then Torrent gets passed down. Now Torrent doesn't exactly look like he's our steed, our trusty steed, we'll say, doesn't look like it's in like spirit form or anything. What I'm thinking is maybe when she got killed, Torrent turns into a spirit form and seeks out Ronnie's daughter, which is like the one person that is like, no, I don't want nothing to do with the Elden. What is it? The soul there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it talks to the finger somehow, and then it's like, well, that's the only one that didn't want to keep its part, or Ronnie didn't want to keep their part of of all of this that's going on. So then Torrent goes and finds Ronnie, makes friends with Ronnie. Ronnie comes to find you, the new Tarnished. That's kind of what I would be, just not even just from this image, but also overall of like all the lore and the shadow of the Erdtree. So the shadow of the Erdtree would be the lands around the Erdtree, right? That's kind of, I mean, come on now. Now the shadow, if you are in the shadow of something, then you are trying to, keep up with it or get to it or something. Shadow of the Erdtree. Do we have any? This does kind of, so this O right here does kind of look like, I saw somebody say it kind of looks like the half moon stuff or the eclipse stuff. Does definitely look like that. So could be the eclipse, all that eclipse faction stuff, which is part of Michaela's thing. But again, Michaela is son. Sorry, Michaela is a son of. There's a lot of lore here. Queen America. So, do I think it's a prequel? Yes. Do I think we're going to be seeing the Shattering War? I don't know, but I think it's a pretty good chance that we will probably end up seeing it. The whole storyline of like it's Michaela and like this is maybe the Saint Trinity. I mean maybe. So again, sticking with the same lore that sees America and Radagon, combined into one to keep something safe, which or keep something locked away of the Elden beasts. That could be the same thing that Mikkel and Saint Trinity does to keep whatever it the giant thing of the shadow of the Erdtree is. What it very well could be too, the shadow of the Erdtree. It's the Elden beasts. And the first encounter that they have with the Elden beasts, that's where they have to conjoin into one to save the world or something. Which would, again, it's like that could paint America and Radagon into being like the heroes of this whole universe. That's the reason why there's statues everywhere of them. Again, we really don't know the lore of this. I think that a lot of people are making videos to try and like be like, well, here is the set lore of what I think is the set lore, but I don't think we really have like die hard factual canon lore on any of this stuff just yet. I think they're working on it. I think that this, hopefully, again, if this is a prequel right here, I think this is going to give you a lot of answers to a lot of questions. So I can't wait to see what this DLC is. If it is something that is like a sequel to the storyline, I'm open for that too. Like if I'm wrong, I'm cool. All right, what is the actual lore? I'm very curious to see. I'm just giving you the lore of like what I think I see happening for my own brain, what my own eyes are telling me of, what my own gut feeling with all this lore is. Again, I'm not a lore expert on this stuff. I haven't gone through and like picked through all the files and looked at all that stuff, but just like playing the game. Because the thing of it is too, when you're picking through all the files and you're going through all that stuff of like, well, here's cut content and here's stuff that's hidden in the files and everything. From what I know of hearing other game writers talk, cut content is cut content for a reason. Sometimes it doesn't work with the lore that they actually have canon lore set. Sometimes it just wasn't finished up. They're going to change stuff around, and if it's not finished up, they're going to use it for DLC, like a Shadow of the Erdtree. A lot of times that lore gets shifted and gets changed a lot. So what you think is canon lore is not really canon lore in that aspect also. So again, just some stuff to keep in mind when it comes to all these videos of like, well, in the cut content, you can't really put that in with canon lore though, because it's cut content, like I said. But yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to see. Can't wait to see what's going to be happening with this. Elden Ring was such a fun time. I had my slight gripes with it. It won Game of the Year. Good stuff for it. I can't wait to come back and just experience more in the lands of the Elden Ring once again. So yeah, like, subscribe, share. It definitely helps out. Much appreciated. And there will be more videos coming very soon. So with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see you next time.